KEET TV presents Homework Hotline, the after-school show that fuses learning with fun. Watch local teachers bring the classroom on air and online. This is Homework Hotline.
Welcome to Homework Hotline. My name is Amy Taylor and I teach 7th and 8th grade math at Sunnybray Middle School in Arcata.
My name is Pam Halstead and I taught science at Fortuna High School.
Yay! Science and math.
Yes, science and math, a great combination. English is good too, yes. Of course, because all together, you know.
Yeah, all the words.
Yeah, the words and the numbers and the whole thing. We love it.
Physically moving at school.
Learning period is great. Well, we have a cool show today because we've got a couple of birds with us, thanks to Lucia Boyer, who is a science teacher. She teaches marine biology at Eureka High, and I went by and picked these up. Oh my gosh, she has a stuffed bear in her classroom.
Oh, wow.
It is amazing. So this on Amy's side is an osprey, and an osprey is a fish hawk. And they're not here in the wintertime, actually yet, but they're working their way from Mexico to come here. So they're working their way. They will be here. It's great to see them. And this little guy is, I don't know, but he's a youngster. So apparently a hawk, it takes between 18 months and 3 years to become an adult. So he looks kind of like he doesn't have any colors. Like this guy has definite white chest, dark wings. And this guy's sort of mottled all over, not really, he'll turn into, or she will turn into a red tail or a red shoulder or whatever. We're gonna talk about that today.
Okay.
So the topic today is birds of winter, and that's for around here birds.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I had to restrict it to raptors and to shorebirds, and I did because those are the birds that I see the most of when I go on my walks every day. And believe me, this is not complete at all. We have so many birds here.
Oh my gosh!
I mean,
I don't think
it's crazy.
You could talk for hours and hours and
Humboldt
hours.
Bay alone is like one of the most important places for birds to overwinter and come and migrate here. And there's food, there's eelgrass. It's amazing. So we'll go on and to this thing. Let's talk about birds in general and like food chains and things like that. So let's start off. Okay. So here's our first little picture, and it's that is a very simple, adorable little food chain. So what do you see there, Amy?
I see plants, and then is that arachnids, or would we say?
You know, I think it's an insect.
Okay,
yeah.
insect, and then a rat.
Or a mouse, whichever.
Mouse.
It's a rodent, probably. Yeah.
And then an owl.
Yes. And what do you think those arrows represent?
I'm guessing like a food chain.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Like, what is the insect getting from? I mean,
he's getting fuel.
He's getting fuel. You got it. So yeah,
and
absolutely.
then the insects get, and then the rodent gets it from the insect, and then the owl gets it from the.
You got it. Rodent. So yeah. So actually, the arrows point in the direction of energy flow, which is fuel. You got it. Because we have cellular respiration, which is what breaks our food down and gives us our energy. That's what's going on here. So actually, let's take a look at this. That was a food chain. This is a food web. Okay, now. The arrows are still the same. It's like the energy is going from one organism to the other. But check it out, Amy, and tell me, like, in terms of the, how many of the organisms are eating the grass?
3?
Yes. What are they?
Are we saying insects? Rodents?
Oh, yeah, good, sure.
And then rabbits?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're getting the maximum energy that the sun gave the plants. I mean, you know, the sun can't give all of its energy to the plants. The plants would explode, but it gets a certain amount through photosynthesis, so that energy is passed on to those guys. We call them herbivores.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you see any carnivores here? Like, guess.
Yes, the fox and the hawk.
The fox
and the
snake,
hawk.
I know and the snake.
Is.
Bingo. So you got the carnivores there too. And there are some, like that little bird there that's between the snake and the grasshopper. That little bird, probably an omnivore. A lot of those birds.
Yeah, seeds, right?
Seeds, and sometimes like even a hummingbird eats spiders.
Okay.
And then also eats nectar. Okay.
Yeah.
So now tell me this: which of these organisms on the picture have the maximum amount of steps to get to them? You got me? So we're at the beginning, and then we
It
go
looked like
to
the
the steps.
hawk was, if I think
Yep.
about it.
I think it has about 4 steps, because the step 1 is to the grasshopper, then bird, then the snake.
It'll even eat the snake. The ones that had
Yes.
nothing like above it were the fox and the hawk.
Yep.
Had nothing above it.
You are so right.
Went up to that and stopped.
True. So let's take a look at, oh, we left this out, right? The sun is the very basis for all the energy. These food chains and webs wouldn't exist without it.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go on to the next picture, which is looking more in detail at what is really going on. So we got some math here, Amy. So here we go. So the sun is pouring down on the plants as we got trees there and grass. And how much, now this is measured in kilocalories, which is the same, this is the same unit that our food is measured in.
Okay.
Okay, so what number do they have there for the plants? How much are they getting?
10,000. And is a kilocalorie, is that like 1,000 calories?
Yes, little calories, but when they put a C on our food, that is kilocalories.
Yeah. So we just say calorie.
It's like a capital C is a kilocalorie, and a little c is a little calorie. And you are so right, that is 1,000 little calories.
So we'll just say it's a calorie, like typically on the side of a box of like a cereal.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a kilocalorie?
Any food at all that you see, and they say that.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's it.
So 10,000.
Okay, 10,000. So we start at 10,000, and then we're going to go to the animal that is eating the plants. So first off, what is the fancy name for the plants? You can read it there.
Producers.
Yes, producers.
Producing it.
Right,
from
exactly.
The sun.
From the sun. You
Yes.
got it. So who in this picture is eating?
The rabbit.
And the rabbit is a consumer, but he's the first consumer because he's the first one to eat something, right? So the plant, so any plant-eating animal like the herbivores are called primary consumers.
Do you multiply it, or do you
Now let me ask you a next question.
Okay,
Hold
okay.
on one sec. Okay, so how much of the energy of the 10,000 kilocalories of the plants are being passed on to the rabbit?
It looks like a tenth.
Yep, that's true. 10% only of that energy is going to the rabbits. So there's lots of little rabbits around getting 10% from the grasses.
It's 1,000 over 10,000.
Yep.
You're can't divide by 1,000 and use how many thousands are in 10. It's
Yes.
1/10.
Bingo. And we've had math lessons that you've taught on this very thing. Cool. All right, so we're going next to the secondary consumer who's eating the rabbit. Who's that? We have to take a look there.
And so he has 1,000, the snake.
One of your favorite animals,
And
yes.
then now we do 100 over 1,000, divide the top and the bottom by 100, and we get 1/10 again.
Yes.
So the snake is getting 1/10 or 100th of the producers, but 1/10 of the rabbit.
Right, a tenth of the rabbit, exactly. Now let's get up to the eagle, which is a raptor, which we're going to look at. Yeah.
So it gets 1,000th of the producers, 100th of the rabbit, 1/10 of the snake.
All right, here's my question for you. Which of these organisms would you think would be the most abundant in terms of like the amount of energy it's getting? I mean, don't worry about the producers, just the consumers.
Like a rabbit.
Bingo.
Because they hop around a lot.
They hop around a lot, and there's lots more energy in the plants than there is with the hawk. The hawk is getting not as much.
So it's got to fly and then stop, and then fly and then stop.
Well, that's right, but when it's eating the snake got a lot less energy because the rabbit got the most, right?
Yeah.
And then the snake had less energy from what it was eating.
Yes.
And then there's the eagle there who's getting even less. So there cannot be more eagles than there are rabbits.
No.
It's not going to work.
Yes.
And so where is that? What's 90% of it being converted into? There's in the red arrows. Yeah, heat loss. So that's from all the things that you do, the growing, the moving, the whatever it is, all the activities that you do are lost in heat.
Okay.
And so that's why only 10%. Okay, let's go on. All right, I'm going to ask you questions now.
Okay.
And let's see how important birds are in this whole thing, and actually each one of these organisms, because it's important to the ecosystem. All right, let's look at the hawks. In the 1960s and 1950s, they sprayed a chemical called DDT, and that was to kill mosquitoes.
I remember that. Yeah.
That was you could spray an eagle with that stuff. You could spray you and me with that stuff, and it wouldn't kill us. But what happened is, when the plant is eaten by the grasshopper gets some, so they spray it, so mosquitoes are dying from it.
Yeah.
The grasshopper, if he eats the grass, is getting the DDT. Then the next is the frog. The frog is eating grasshoppers. The frog has to eat lots of grasshoppers. So it's called biomagnification. It's magnifying as it goes up the food chain. So by the time it gets to the snake's got a lot in him. And then who's got to eat the snake? The hawk. And as the hawk eats that, so what, the hawk didn't die from that, but when the hawk laid its eggs, they were really weak, the shell was. And so when they sat on the eggs, they just crumbled and they couldn't have babies.
And now there's less hawks.
You know, and this osprey that's here, I mean, they almost went extinct because of this.
Oh my gosh.
It was horrible.
Is it illegal
and eagles too. Yes,
okay.
It is in this country, but not in other countries.
Oh, okay.
Here's the problem, DDT is actually really good as far as killing mosquitoes, but it's got some problems. All right, let's look at the hawks though. Let's say we got DDT going on and there aren't any hawks, so I'm pulling the hawks away. What happens to the number of snakes? Does it go up or down?
It goes up
Yeah.
because they're not being eaten by hawks.
Bingo. Now we have more snakes. What happens to the population of frogs?
That goes down because they're eating them all.
Okay. So then what happens to the number of grasshoppers?
And they go up,
And then what happens to the plants?
disappear. I don't know.
No, yes. No, you're right. So, I mean, it's every one of the things you do to different organisms that are in the ecosystem affects hugely. I mean, if you don't have plants, it's not going to work. There's no energy to pass on to the primary consumers. All right, we're moving on to the next thing. What do you need in a habitat? So, you've got a habitat for your snake in your terrarium or
yes.
okay. What do your snake need?
Water.
Good.
To like drink and or
Great.
for shedding.
Okay.
And then we have a heat pad on the bottom.
Okay, good. So the temperature needs to be just right.
Yes.
Okay, good.
And then the bedding is a certain type of bedding that they can burrow in or they
Cool.
like just sit on top of.
Nice. All right, I'm going to say all these 4 things and just say, food, because of course
Oh yeah, then you feed them. But they feed them so, it's not very often.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's true. But you just said burrow, so shelter of
Yes.
some kind. And then the space to do whatever they need. And you're right, they do totally need whatever the right temperature and everything else.
and then I also always have a climbing thing, like a stick that they can climb up.
And
or
that's
whatever.
space for them to move around.
Space to move around and something to climb on.
Yeah.
And also they say to rub off of, to rub
Oh
the
yeah, of
skin
course,
off of.
for the skin, sure. Okay, cool. And this is a forest ecosystem. So all these things, a bird needs it, a rabbit needs it, everybody who's in the ecosystem needs these things to be able to survive. All right, so this is so cool. I learned about it like a week ago. And so this is from a former student teacher of mine and a current, she taught at Zane at Science. And she check this bird out, Amy. She saw this bird in Dry Lagoon. Dry Lagoon is, kind of near Big Lagoon.
Yes,
it's like
right
on your way there?
afterwards,
Yeah, afterwards. What do you see on this bird that looks weird?
The blue, it says 04.
Yeah, it has a number on
Tags.
it. So it's exactly. So let's take a look then. So Karina, her name is Yunga, she observed and photographed him on January 20th of this year. And then she was wondering, what the heck is this? And she sent it to me. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. So a Facebook group helped her learn about why this bird was tagged. And so here I have a question for you about red-tailed hawks in general. So what is a possible diet of this bird? What do you think? Anything, name one.
Snakes.
Good.
Frogs.
Sure. Good. Rabbits,
Bugs,
anything. Bugs.
rabbits.
Yeah. That's right. So it's going to eat, it's a carnivore.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what is the probable feeding group? Is it a consumer or a producer?
Consumer.
Because it's not a plant, right?
Yeah.
And then is it primary, secondary, or tertiary?
The hawk. Mm-hmm. It's going to be primary. It's at the top, right?
Primary's at the bottom.
Oh, primary. Sorry,
No,
tertiary.
it's easy because
Yeah.
you think like best, primary. Yeah. No, that's right, tertiary. You got it. And then why is it tagged and where? Here's the answer. So Seattle-Tacoma Airport, that's in Washington. And what they do is they capture these birds, and it's called the Raptor Strike Avoidance Program. Because if you have an airport, what do you got there? Planes. And planes can suck up birds,
no.
especially birds like this, where there's not many of them.
Oh, okay.
And so,
This is a good thing.
yes, it's a very good thing. So I started in 2001, which is like 21 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, 21 years ago. So this saves the life of the birds and the people, because you don't want to fly in a plane that has birds sucked into it, because it can wreck the engine.
Yeah.
All right, and the cool thing is by last year they relocated 1,500 birds, hawks,
gives me
eagles, owls, and
chills.
falcons. All of them are, and they were released 75 miles
gosh.
north of the airport. I know, it's amazing. So that's pretty cool, and guess what? That bird made it all the way from Seattle, Tacoma Airport, and 75 miles north. So these are the flyways.
Oh my gosh, and it was here.
It's so cool. So that little guy started way up in the Pacific Flyway.
If they hadn't saved him, he could have been in an airplane.
Oh yeah,
swirled
destroyed.
away, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the airplane could have crashed. You know, whatever terrible things could happen.
And also, then you don't want him extinct either.
No, and they have a record. So he's banded as a juvenile in July 5th, 2019. So he's three. He's 3 years old.
He's living.
And here are all the reports from this place, from this avoidance, strike avoidance thing. There have been 12 birds located and reported in British Columbia. And look at us, 8 in Oregon, and there's only 2. We're the second ones. So the guy was so happy that she contacted him.
Oh,
he was like, "Oh my gosh, you got a bird! It's so cool." None of them have been off the Pacific Flyway, which kind of makes sense because why would you fly that far when you don't have to?
Yeah.
You got food, water, and all that stuff. All right, now, here we go. We're going to take it one bird at a time. We're going to do raptors, and then we're going to do shorebirds. Okay, so this is kind of a grizzly picture, but that's what they eat. So other birds as well. Okay, saw this bird yesterday, was with, not exactly this bird, I'm just saying a bird that's related.
So
Isn't he adorable? Okay, look, let's check this bird out. Amy, I want you to describe the beak, the talons, and anything else you want to about this bird that makes it a really good predator.
I would say longish, sharp beak. Like it has that like sharp part.
You got it.
The talons are big and like spread out and probably sharp.
Yes.
I would think like how the feathers are, it would help it like fly and dive because it's very like tight to its body.
Bingo. And I have a question about the position of its eyes. They're either in the front of its head or on the sides of its head. Which one do you think is more like?
I would think side. So they can.
If they're side, they're like really good peripheral. But
like,
if they're this way, they have depth perception.
Okay.
Because their visions can cross
over. So they're like
over.
on the side, but they're more forward.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It kind of does look like on the side. Sorry, yeah. But even these little guys, they are on the side, but they're more forward than the birds you're going to see.
They're on the side, but they point forward, not point out.
That's right.
That makes sense.
Okay, cool. This is called, and it was the first time I'd ever seen anything, a Prairie Merlin, and it's a little hawk. It's like smaller than a red-tailed hawk, which, like how big is a red-tailed hawk? Bigger than this guy, but still, it was flying right over some shorebirds, and it was just so amazing. And I wouldn't have known. There was a birder there. Here he is. His name is Rob Fowler. We saw it in the Arcata Bottoms, and he is an expert birder. He also runs a birding like business.
Oh.
If you want to go on a tour of birds, and you can call him. His Instagram is at Fowler Rope, which a Fowler Rope is a kind of bird, so it's good. All right, cool. Anyway, let's keep going on the raptors. Check this raptor out. In fact, let's check these out, Amy. You can see that on the left side there's merlins that we just saw. And by the way, the Prairie Merlin is not one that we normally see here. So see, they're normally that brown color. That one we saw was gray. So what is it about the females and the males that maybe are different or sort of surprise you? Like look at the size thing for males and females. So these guys are a pair,
almost looks
and those
smaller.
guys are a pair. The males are smaller. Almost every raptor, the males are smaller.
Looks like their beaks are more curved.
It does, huh? I'm not sure about that, but it could be. It's possible. Yeah, but the size?
It's mostly the size.
Yes, it is mostly the size, yeah. So here are 2 really cool raptors that you tell me, I'll show you another picture. Which one do you think's the male, which one's the female?
Male's the top right.
Yep, you got it.
Smaller.
That's right. These are so cool birds. They're called northern harriers. They used to be called marsh hawks because they like fly over marshes and stuff like that. Okay, so they're neat, and they show you the males and female size, and plus the male's gray and the female's brown, so you can tell them that way too. All right, so then we have, there's actually the male, and there's the female. What's something else you see that could make you, while you're looking for this bird, the northern harrier?
Lighter colored. The male's lighter colored.
The male is lighter colored. And what do they both have that would make you go, oh, most hawks don't have this?
Is it the hair over the head, or is it something else?
No, it's the white band. That white thing above the tail or next to the tail.
Oh, I see. So it's usually full color.
Full color, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So that's a help. That's like, I know what that is now because I see that band.
So pretty.
Yeah, they are beautiful.
When we get a roof lake each summer, we always get to see different
Oh my
birds out
gosh,
there.
it's very fun.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, this bird.
Oh, these kind of, like, Raptors. Like you get to see raptors.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I see lots of birds all the time, but I mean, like specifically
You know,
raptors.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's eagles there. You know, honestly, we saw 2 eagles last week just fly over our heads in the bottoms, in the Arcata bottoms.
Oh.
It was so cool. It was really high up, but when you see white tail
you know.
and white head, you're like, oh, eagles, that's so cool. All right, this bird, I love it. It's a really neat bird. It does a thing where it hovers, and its name is actually related to the hovering. So actually, I have a tiny little GIF here. It doesn't work, but that's okay. It's moving. Oh, yes, it does. There we go. That's a hover.
Oh, wow.
So moving your wings and staying in the exact same place. And why? Guess why?
It's waiting for its prey to move or
Bingo.
to stand still.
Incredible eyesight that it's got.
And then just, whew.
Just boom, bam, yeah, any movement at all. Yeah,
It's so awesome because you won't see them sometimes and then they like grab a fish. You're like, how did it get that? I didn't see
I know,
that fish.
it's impossible. And right here, this guy, that's what they eat is fish. Yeah, it's incredible to be able to snatch it out of the water.
I know.
And then that is not an aquatic bird, so it has to get up and like shake itself off and then fly away. It's very cool. All right, so what is the name of this bird? This bird that does the hovering? It is, I think it just came up on the screen. The screen says a white-tailed kite.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it is neat. Okay, these 2 birds. There you go. They both have red in the name.
Look how pretty that is. It spreads out.
Oh my
That is
goodness,
so
it's
cool.
incredible. In actuality, the red-shouldered hawk is smaller than the one on the right,
okay.
which is, yeah. But where do you see the red on the red-shouldered?
On their shoulders.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
out
so
to the side
I love
of
it when the
top.
names of the bird is like, oh, I get it now. And then the red-tailed,
Yes.
it's got it under, you can see it underneath. Yeah. I really need my help on getting good with hawks because sometimes, you know, if you got the nice little white band, you can tell. But other than that, I'm like, okay, what size is it? How big is it? You know, because then they fly fast too.
No, they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the right.
It's like zippity-doo.
Unless it's looking for a fish, like you said, then you can kind of see it a little more.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like
That's
waiting.
right. Well, I love this bird too. This is our last raptor. This is a bird that is the fastest bird ever in like a dive.
Oh, wow.
They fly faster, and the dive that this bird did and they recorded was 240 miles an hour.
Oh, shoot.
That is impossible.
And
But
then it doesn't hurt itself.
no.
Just
It dives
stops.
and they can swoop out of this thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then it hits them. Can you imagine getting hit by a 240 mile an hour? It's very effective in catching prey. This is a Peregrine Falcon.
Oh, okay. I've
So
heard of that.
they are amazing. That's like the people that used to like do falconry and stuff. They would
Okay.
have them on there and they go like have them catch pigeons and stuff. You know,
Okay.
back in the medieval times.
Okay.
All right. So here's the amazing thing about them is they lay their eggs. They don't care really if humans are there. So this is a building. There's the babies.
So
They look so silly. I mean, compared to the parent. But this is a building and a skyscraper in Chicago.
And they just lay their eggs.
Oh yeah, look, they're feeding the babies right there. It's crazy. This leads to our next group of birds, which are shorebirds. And they're really good at catching them. Peregrines are.
Are good at catching shorebirds.
Oh yeah. And shorebirds, okay, so the peregrine you said was tertiary.
Yeah.
And a lot of shorebirds they eat like worms and
So
things
they're
like
secondary.
that. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're right there. That's probably the most likely thing. Okay, so let's check out shorebirds here. All right, all I want you to do is there's a lot of words there, but tell me what you see in terms of the beak and how is
Yeah,
the
I
beak
do see
different.
the longer bill. It's not that like short, sharp. It
Right.
doesn't seem as sharp.
And it's not bent over like sharp. No,
Yeah.
definitely not.
And the talons are smaller.
Yeah, all they have is they just have little nails. They aren't even like curved over like these guys, the raptors
And
were.
they're bent forward, more forward versus like
Yes.
up, like their chest up.
You're
they're
so
bent
right.
more forward.
Yeah.
Because they're on getting stuff off the ground.
They're getting stuff off the ground. They're having to put their beaks into
Yeah.
the whatever they're walking on. Yeah, and then so their legs.
As mottled just means color, right?
Yeah,
So
mottled means not
more
all
like
the
the
same.
juvenile
There's
we
a
have
mottled.
here,
Yeah, that's right. So now we'll get to some specific shorebirds. Oh yeah, this is mottled. That's a good example of mottled.
But
Okay, so
full-grown
yeah.
raptors are not mottled.
not as mottled.
but
They
sh-
can be though. Like the
Okay.
red-shouldered has a mottled chest, and then
But
so
the dark.
and the dark
But
on the
the
back.
shorebird has like the whole back. Is
The whole back could be mottled, yeah. Okay, so we're going to look at, this was surprising to me, and I didn't even realize this, but do you remember like you the
how
classification?
tiny.
Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family,
Yeah.
genus, species. Okay, we're going to look at the kingdom Animalia, so they're animals. They're in the class Aves, which means flight. They're birds.
Okay.
I mean, you know, and most birds can fly. No, ostriches can't, and neither can penguins. But let's look at the family, and this is what shocked me about.
How tiny that bird is.
I know. Oh my gosh, it's a hummingbird. It's beautiful. And look at that. Oh my God, it's on a pencil. Okay. Every one of these birds is in the sandpiper bird family.
Oh wow.
But look at the
so
difference.
different.
I mean, when you think of a sandpiper, you think of a little bird, right?
Yeah.
Tiny little bird. All they need is short-legged, long-billed, chunky, striped and barred, wings are
Facing
pointed,
down.
eyes are rear set,
yeah.
which makes sense because you want to have view of the Peregrine Falcon.
Yeah, so when you're
over
at the
your
top
head.
of the food chain, then you just can look down. But if you're
Absolutely.
in the middle, you got
It's frightening. Okay, so let's check it out. These are so cool birds. We'll take a look at their face. Look at the beak. It goes up.
And almost like a duck, thin duckbill or something.
Yes, it does.
It's like
And when
so
when
thin.
they eat and they move, they swipe it back and forth. So
okay.
they're eating crustaceans like shrimp. Okay, and this bird is so cool. I love this one. This one's here are their names. This one's American Avocet on the left, and the other one is a long-billed curlew. That is a heck of a long bill. They can
Yes, it
jam
is.
into the.
And that's curved down versus like the
Yes.
Avocet is up.
That
slightly.
bird, which is almost as big as this guy, is in the sandpiper family.
Oh wow.
I know. It's like a pike minnow is a minnow.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
know the pike minnow. The pike minnow is an awful fish that, you know, is taking over Eel River. But anyway, let's keep going. All right. Do you recognize that bird?
Yes.
What is it? Do you remember?
Pelican.
Don't worry.
Oh, egret.
It's actually an egret. This is a great egret, and it is in the heron family. And so you can see how they.
I said I know they're egret.
No, I know that. Don't worry. It's pressure. There's another egret behind the big egret, and
You see these when you're driving like on the freeway.
Yes.
You remember being a kid.
So many.
Like, you know.
I know. They're like, what are all these giant?
But they're in the middle. You know what I'm
Exactly.
talking about?
Look at the feet
all the
of this one
grass.
that's flying. It is a snowy egret.
Okay.
And that snowy egret's smaller. There are a bunch of different egrets. We only
Okay.
have like 3 different egrets.
Okay.
Green, well, no, it's a heron. Never mind. Okay, so we have snowy and we have this and we have cattle. But they are like the big one, only they use their feet and they like move them around to get whatever it is they're looking at for. All right, this one. I love this one on the left. It's called a yellow legs because just like the red-shouldered and red-tailed, it's awesome. And it is a greater yellow legs, which means it's bigger than a lesser. And there's a bunch of sandpipers over there. Okay. This bird, these 2 birds, they look a whole lot alike, but when they fly, check out their different wings. I love the
very
willet
good.
and also the black-billed, or short-billed dowitcher. So once they start flying, you're like, I know what that is. Okay. So this bird is famous. It's famous in Arcata. They have a festival.
I know the kids
are
doing art for that currently.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, the art contest.
That is so cool. Well, it's a very cool thing, and it is something that you should definitely check out if you can. Like, so many kids are doing that right now.
Yeah,
They're doing
art
bird
fair,
art. Yeah, there's an art, like, competition.
Yeah.
And then, just like we have the pandemic, we've got it online, and it's in person, too. You
Godwit
can go
Days,
outside.
yeah.
Godwit Days. It's very cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Birds
for
are
tuning in.
awesome. We
Birds
really
are awesome. Go
appreciate
and observe.
Yeah, go observe the birds.
Go on
It's
a walk.
amazing. Yeah, go on a walk and enjoy.
Yes.
Because we have so much to look at and see.
Bye.
See ya.